Hello everyone and welcome back to Mr. Anderson's Algebra 1 lessons. And today we are going to be completing the square when A is not 1. And that is where we're going to have to use those extra steps if you were watching the previous video where we didn't use those extra steps. So sit back and enjoy the ride. So before we start off on our little adventure of completing the square, we need to have A, B, and C of our quadratic. And this is going to be important for steps 3, steps 4, and steps 5 of solving this. So A is going to be 3, B is -6. It's important that you have that negative there. And C is -45. Now, just like the previous example, we're going to start off with step 1, which is setting the equation equal to 0 and moving C to the other side. So we're going to add 45 to this side and that's going to leave space for the rest of our solving in a minute. So that's step 1, moving C to the other side and setting it equal to 0. Now step 2 is where we factor out A from this other side. So you're going to factor out A, which is 3, from the x squared and from this one. So factor out the 3. You got 3 out here, and x squared's left inside minus 2. And so that's kind of just sitting there. Now we're going to leave a little space here for our term we're going to figure out in a few moments. And so that's step 2, factor out A from the left side. Now step 3 is to divide both sides by the A that we factored out. So divide by 3 over here and divide by 3 over here. And so we're going to be able to cancel those. We're left with x squared minus 2x is equal to 45 divided by 3. And that is 15. So now it's looking good. So for step 4, this is where we need to take half of B divided by A, square it, and add it to both sides. Now this is where you try not to get confused. This B and this B are different. If I used this B and these numbers, I could use the quadratic formula, but to do step 4, we need this B right here. So make a mental note of that. This B and this B are completely different. We've kind of changed the value, not necessarily changed the value of the quadratic, but we have changed the inside of it, I guess, so to speak. So take half of B divided by A. So B divided by A is going to be -2 divided by A is 1, and that's -2, okay? And then we need to divide this by 2. So that's equal to -1. And then we need to square that -1. And that's going to give us a +1. And that's what we're going to add to both sides here. Okay? So we're going to add that to both sides. And now we're going to step 4, which means we're going to factor this side and clean this up. Now when you factor this side, you're looking for two numbers that multiply to negative or +1 but add to -2. And again, that's x minus 1 times x minus 1 equals, and this will be 16. Now remember from the previous video, we can rewrite this as x minus 1 quantity squared is equal to 16. And that's where we're going to lead us into step 6, which is we solve for the x by taking the square root of each side. And so I'm going to square root each side here. And that's going to cancel this guy out. And I'm going to have x minus 1 equals plus or minus. The square root of 16 is 4. And so now I just solve for x by adding 1 to each side. And here's where I'm going to get my 2 answers. So you have x is equal to 4 plus 1. And you have x is equal to negative 4 plus 1. X equals 5. X equals negative 3. And this is how you would complete the square of a quadratic equation where a is not equal to 1. I hope you enjoyed this lesson and it helps you in your endeavors. Thanks again. Have a nice day. Peace out.